So, khair, inshallah. Question is about my study habits. Inshallah, I'll try to answer the question, and some of the question I won't be able to answer for a few reasons. Some of those reasons is that there are people that are much better than me, who have far better study habits than I do, and have far stronger training regimens than me. People who run more miles than me, who jump rope more, who on the heavy bag, the speed bag, who watch more boxing tape than I do. Much better boxers than me. However, inshallah, perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put some type of good in me mentioning some of my humble study habits, so on and so forth. The next point is why I won't be able to answer the question in full detail is I want to give you some of the or time schedule in Medina or when I was in Yemen instead of in America. Not saying that I don't study in America. Of course, I still study in America. I studied before I went overseas in America, but I think that may be even better because it was more structure. At the end of the day, it's different ways of starting off. You can talk about the day, you can talk about the night, you can talk about night prayer or whatever. Let's just keep it basic and start off with Salatul Fajr. Now, most Tulab al-Ilm, when they get up for Fajr, whether they slept from Isha to Fajr, whether they prayed at night, made the Qiyam and Witr, made Dua, etc., or even some students of knowledge, such as myself, when I was overseas, I would often be afflicted with insomnia. And we know insomnia is not just lack of sleep, but it's lack of quality sleep. Many people think insomnia is that you can't sleep at night. You may sleep for 8 hours and wake up and still feel fatigued and tired. So the first time I went overseas in Medina when I was 18, I was afflicted by insomnia. And oftentimes I couldn't sleep at nighttime at all, let alone that was the type of insomnia I had then. Later on, it became a different type of insomnia with lack of quality sleep. So when I first got to Medina, I couldn't sleep at night. So that's one thing. But the average talib al-ilm is going to sleep at nighttime, make the prayer at nighttime, go back to sleep for an hour or a couple of hours, and wake up for Salatul Fajr fresh. So in Medina, let's say, for example, you wake up for Salatul Fajr. Okay, you get up, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you make your wudu, you make your 2 raka'ah in your apartment, your house, in the dorm, wherever you live, and you walk to the masjid. So my first year in Medina, I was living in building number 3 for a couple of months. It was an older building. So it was a good maybe, let's say, 6 or 7 minute walk from the building to the masjid. So I would utilize that time to read. And obviously it was dark in Medina. There wasn't that many lights. This was before the age of the iPad. I didn't have no iPad. iPad wasn't really popular like that, if it was even out. So we always had books. So I would start my day by reading a book. Most cases, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, obviously in Arabic, walking from my dorm to the masjid. So that in itself is a type of training right there in my book, okay? And that is to maximize the time when you're not supposed to be studying, which the average person is just walking, the average person is driving, the average person is sitting and eating, in which me, what I learned, what I had studied, what I had read, and what I had implemented myself was to always have a book with you. So instead of the 6 minutes just walking, you get 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes of reading. You might be memorize 3 hadith in 10 minutes. You may read 20 hadiths in 10 minutes, depending on how fast you read, how long the hadiths are. And keep in mind that it's dark. So you're training your eyes to read the paper when it's not light outside. So if you can read proficiently, especially from an older print, not a print like this, which is new with all of the vowels, but an older print. If you can read an older book, walking in the dark to a destination, then obviously when you sit down with a newer print with the lights on, you're going to cut like a knife through cheese. So that's the concept in itself, is to study in times of difficulty to make it easier to study in times of ease. Just like a boxer, as we always say. He runs and he trains with sandbags or with heavy books in his book bag. Or he runs up and down the steps with heavy logs. In other words, if you can run quickly, swiftly, with weight on you, then when you're in the ring moving, your footwork is going to be what? Even more rapid. All right, so that's one of the things that I used to do. And it was something I would advise Talab al-Ilm to do as well. When you get a chance, read when it's not time to read. People are laughing, joking, eating, have your book with you. They're driving in a car, listen to your lecture, listen to a tape. Back in the tape days, before CDs, before MP3s, Apple, and it was tapes, cassettes. Okay, you literally take a pencil in or tape it back. If your tape gets ripped, there's some tapes you don't have in the store anymore. Okay, in Medina, it was tape stores. I asked the brothers over there, it was tape stores. You go and buy cassettes. You buy a big set of cassettes. There's no download. It was none of that. So you buy cassettes. So that's what I would used to do. So you walk to the masjid. You get to the masjid. If you get there before the iqamah, you can make another extra 2 rak'ah, sit down, review Quran, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If you haven't memorized the Quran yet, memorize something from the Quran. Wait for the iqamah, make the salah. You sit, you make your adhkar. Then your day, the average student's day would begin. But my day had already begun. As I said, walking to the masjid had already begun. Okay, so most of the brothers, that's when they would review their Quran. And those who already had memorized the Quran or who hadn't yet memorized the Quran, they would actually make hifd. They would make hifd of the Quran in the masjid, the big, large masjid in Medina, Masjid Ibn Baz. So what I would do after Salat al-Fajr, I would meet with some of my classmates. Specifically, it was one brother, a good friend of mine, he was from Egypt. And we would review, we would memorize everything that we had to do basically for the week. Okay, we would start off and try to do it in one day for the classes. We have Tawheed, we have Sirah, we have Muharrar, we have Fiqh. Whatever subject that you had, we would test each other. Read from the book, close the book, you say it, you spit it back, faster, quicker, just like that. Then afterwards, depending if it's wintertime or the summertime, obviously the wintertime is more time between Fajr and it's less time between Fajr and going to school. All right, maybe get something to eat, a light meal, not a heavy meal, whether it's bread and honey, many of the brothers would eat, whether it was fool, mashed up fava beans with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of feta cheese. That's if you're fortunate to have that. If not, it's just beans and bread. Maybe some yogurt and some bread. You sit and you eat 15, 20 minutes with the book on the side of you. So as you dip your bread in the yogurt or you dip your bread in the beans, you're reading, you're studying, you're reviewing. Other students, like I said, they may be laughing and joking. Some of them may be talking about soccer or talking about money or talking about getting married in their country, talking about Sheikh Fulan and this one and that one. Allah Alam, what are you talking about? We would have the book or we would actually debate while eating breakfast. So after that, you still got your book with you, you're reading, haddathana, you walk back to your dorm, you get your stuff and you head to school. Get to school, bidnillahi ta'ala, let's say maybe 15 minutes early, 20 minutes early before the class starts. Once again, you're reading your books. Let's say, for example, you're reading Fatawa, Mathalan, Fatawa Ibn Uthaymeen or Fath al-Bari, whatever you're reading before the class starts, before the teacher comes into the class. And then you can pick your own good seat. Obviously, when the class starts, all of your attention is spent on the teacher. Take notes, write down everything that the teacher says. Or if not, summarize the class. Or if not, sometimes we would just memorize the class. Khair, inshallah. So the next teacher, the first teacher, he leaves, next teacher comes in. You got another 5 more minutes, go back to reading. Go back to studying. Then the next teacher comes in until you have all of your subjects. You study basically from about 7:30 a.m. to about maybe 1:30 p.m., 1 o'clock p.m., 12:30 p.m., etc. So you make Salat al-Dhuhr in the school masjid and the kulliyah, the musalla. Then you go home, living on a dorm. Once again, you're reading a book. And then it's sunny outside. It's blazing hot outside. Walking, reading a book. Or maybe cloudy, maybe rainy in Medina. You still what? Reading a book. Walking back to your dorm. Then it's time to eat lunch. Go to the lunchroom, the cafeteria. They have the meal tickets. While you're waiting in line, because hundreds of students to get the food, you're reading a sporadic book. Nothing to do with school. And it's a very important point that I would do and tell the brothers and sisters now is when you're cheating with your study time, make sure it's outside of your responsibilities. In other words, when it's time to study for school, you study for school. But when you're walking, driving, eating, you give the other fawaid, the other benefits, things that have nothing to do with school. You see what I'm saying? That's how you really enhance your ilm now. So you get a little quick lunch, go back to your dorm. Some brothers will take a nap for an hour, 30 minutes. Some brothers will stay up. And now you're just getting yourself ready to go to the Prophet's masjid. Many of the brothers will go by cab. Some would walk. Some will go by the school bus from the Jami'ah to the Prophet's masjid every day. So between Dhuhr and Asr, You said Salat al-Dhuhr, you have your lunch, maybe a nap, and if not, reading some more books, reading tafsir, reading, studying more. Then after Asr time, you go to the Prophet's Masjid, sit in the Prophet's Masjid from Asr to Maghrib, and that time was spent on memorization, on actual hifd. Okay, and what I would do myself, when I was in the Prophet's Masjid from Asr to Maghrib, pretty much every day, we memorize a hadith. Memorize a hadith for school and hadith for other than school. So some brothers would sit in the corner. Some brothers, this is what they would do in Yemen. Some brothers would walk back and forth, take the book, walk from one end to the Prophet's Masjid to the back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Close the book. Back and forth, back and forth. Okay? Sometimes you just sit down, depending on what type of mood you're in, depending on what's efficient for you. From Maghrib, or from Asr to Maghrib, you spend memorizing, myself. As for Maghrib and Isha, then that's when you had the main halaqah, the main dars with the mashayikh and the ulama of Medina, whoever you're sitting with in the Prophet ﷺ's masjid, with Sheikh Ali Nasr Faqihi, Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, whoever is teaching in the Prophet's masjid that you choose to sit with. There are maybe like 10 classes going on at once in different sections of the haram of the Prophet's masjid. So, let's say, for example, I'm sitting with Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad. He's making a sharh of Kutub al-Sitta, whether it's Bukhari, whether it's Muslim, Sunan Ibn Majah, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, whatever book he's working on. So he has his reader, and there's hundreds of students there. What many of the students would do, they would put a spot to get in the halaqah before the actual halaqah. So many of them, they would go after Asr, and they would take the little wooden Quran stands, the Mus'haf beds, put their book in it, and save their spot. So sometimes I would do that. Or sometimes I would take the books that I have with me and you put them down on the ground to get a good spot. So right after Salat Maghrib, you make your adhkar really quick and you run to the majlis. And depending on how early you got there, will be depending on what type of seat you would have. And alhamdulillah, there were times in which I was directly under the sheikh's chair, okay? Where you like literally staring at his toes, okay? Other times you may have 2 or 3 people ahead of you. The closer you are, the easier it is to hear. The less distraction, the less crowd, easier it is to take notes. And you can also send your question up quicker. And you can make sure that your question gets posed to the sheikh. So that's from Maghrib to Isha. Obviously, these classes in the Prophet's Masjid are not interactive. Okay, he has the reader. The sheikh makes the sharh. After or towards the end of the class, before the adhan for Salat al-Isha, is the Q&A time. They will pose all the different questions to the sheikh. So then it's the Iqamah for Salat al-Isha. So some students, they would swarm around the sheikh and listen to him answer further questions after Salat al-Isha. Some students would begin walking to the buses back to the university, the buses that take you back to the school. In my first year of school, it was me and my friend from Egypt once again, Sheikh Ahmed Salama. He's doing his PhD right now in Medina. We would go back to memorizing once again. And we would test each other once again. Narrate the chain, the hadith. Say it again. That's wrong. That's right. What's this mean? Just like that. Sparring. Fighting on the way from the Prophet's Masjid back to the bus. Obviously, you had to wait for the bus. It was hundreds of students. The bus would be 20 minutes late, 30 minutes late. Then there was more time to spar, more time to memorize, to quote, to debate with your classmates. And like I said before, other students, they may just be sitting, they may be talking, they may be laughing, some may be reading. Me, alhamdulillah, what I tried to do, I was always trying to train, okay? And this is one brother in my class I said from Egypt. Brother Ahmed. So then the bus comes and it's basically you got to fight your way onto the bus, literally. You literally have to elbow your way onto the bus to get a seat because it's that crowded. So, me and Ahmed, we will remain calm with just a couple of elbows or whatever. You get on the bus, brothers sit in, talking, thinking about what they're going to eat for dinner. And we were going back to Muharrar, back to Hadith. Qala ibn Abdul Hadi, wa akhraju, just like that, back and forth. On the way back to the Jamia, then it's time to eat. You can go back to the cafeteria. You can go out to another restaurant. Or like I said, if you wanted to, you can make a humble meal for yourself and get bread and yogurt. And suffice yourself with that. Because the less money you have to spend on food, the more money you have to spend on books. The less times you go to the restaurant, the more times you have to sit and study what you're trying to study. So basically, then maybe like say, for example, after you eat dinner, you have all your homework prepared for the next day. Then it's like free reading time. You want to read some other things, miscellaneous stuff, tafsir al-Tabari, Kutub al-Rijal, Kutub al-Shuruh, whatever you're into, whatever you like to read. And I would have my book light. And when it's time to go to sleep, instead of going directly to sleep, I'll read for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, wa alaikum salam, maybe even an hour before sleep when other brothers are sleeping. All right? And that was pretty much the daily routine for the first 3 months of College of Hadith when I was living on campus. As far as the weekends, and obviously you didn't have to go to school. Some brothers would go to sleep after Fajr. I would try to stay up. And you just, maybe you might be translating a book, translating some books, increasing, sharpening your skills, practicing on your hand speed, and just, studying and learning more. You may go outside the Prophet's Masjid to some other houses of other mashayikh and visit them, ask them questions. You may go to the Prophet's Masjid, the library there, sitting there all day. Whatever you have the ability or the time to do. So that's how I used to do it when I was living on campus. As far as when I moved off campus, then it was a bit different. And many people, they may say, if you live off if you move from campus, then you're gonna become more distracted. But to me, it was more of an intensification, because if I have my own apartment, then I can do everything how I want to do it. You're living in a dorm, you have maybe 4 brothers in one room, 3 people in one room, and it's boxed off like a cubicle or something. So you may be listening to the Quran, he may be watching a movie, or you may be trying to study. His friends may overcome and laugh and joke and eat food, or you may be trying to take a nap or trying to cook, and you have a classmate from West Africa or from Indonesia or Malaysia, and he's making some type of food, cooking rice, spicy food, all type of exotic smells, literally cooking fish in a small room. So you may not necessarily be able to sleep or study. So when you have your own apartment, you can do whatever you want to do. So if you're making some food yourself, if you're sleeping, whatever you're doing, you always have the tape recorder. Play the Quran al-Kareem. Listen to the radio program from Saudi, Nurun ala Darb, the Fatawa. Listen to the Durus, all the tapes that you have. So no matter what you're doing, the tape player is always playing. You're washing your clothes, the tape player is playing. You using the bathroom, you're washing up, brushing your teeth, the tape player is playing. Outside of the bathroom. As we read some of the athar of the people of Hadith, that one of my Hadith, his son would read to him when he was using the bathroom. And we tried to be like them. We tried our best to imitate them. So you could always listen to something, no matter what chores that you had to do. If you were there, if you were single, or if your wife wasn't there at the time, you could always benefit. And it was time to go to the Prophet's Masjid. Obviously, the apartment is further, or you don't have a free ride every day. You walk, put on your headphones with your tape player, and read the book while you're walking, and just continually be in a state of fa'idah, always trying to benefit, especially if you were by yourself. As far as if you have other brothers, other American brothers or British brothers with you, then the only people that can hang out with me, initially, people that was about fa'idah. Some brothers, like I said, they want to go to Pizza Hut, they want to go to Burger King, they want to go to McDonald's, they want to go here, they want to buy this, they want to, play basketball, football, go shopping, go to Jeddah, go swimming, go to Yambut. I wasn't pretty much into that kind of stuff. Some brothers, like I said, they just want to sit around and talk about people all day. I wasn't into that. I was about, studying. And that's basically a summary of it. This is my first year of school. As far as when I went to Medina, before I was in school, when I actually was 18, then it was different. We spoke about that already. Staying up at night, transcribing tapes, memorizing, going to the school in the morning. So that's basic, pretty much whatever you do. Now, if you got your wife there, if you have your kids with you, then you go to the hospital for your wife's checkup. She's pregnant. You may be sitting in the hospital for 5 hours, 4 hours, sitting and waiting. So crowd. So many brothers, they would go with their wives and they would just sit there. I would go and I would have a book with me. So for 3 hours waiting for the doctor, I've read an entire volume, or 300 pages, 200 pages, whatever you're reading, okay? Just like that. You get in a cab, we have your own car, read, study, listen. And that was the general concept, that whenever you're in overseas in Medina, you always have a book with you, always. Never be caught without a book. And that's how the true tulab al-ilm that I met and encountered were. All right? And you read some of the biographies of the Salaf al-Salih, and they would say that he never saw Fulan unless he had a book in his hand. All right? So these are some things that we try to implement. And Allahu Alam, I would say perhaps these were some of the things that may have given me the edge. All right? Allahu Alam. And that's basically it. As far as when it comes time for the tests, the exams, then obviously you try your best to study all year round. But basically, before the exams, they give you a week off to review, and they call it usbu' mayit. That's what the students used to call it. They used to call it the dead week. All right. In other words, there's no classes, and it's just the students that didn't study. This was time to crash, and the students that did study, this was time to like really further hone your blade and make it razor sharp. So basically, when you had a week before the exams, if you were married, it was known you would basically like make i'tikaf in your library. No kids, no wife, nothing. They would only see you maybe for a couple hours out at nighttime. Other than that, you spend time in the library. And it was known, anybody with anything, it has to be an emergency. Don't come knocking on the door, don't come begging, Abby, pick me up. It was none of that. You're just studying for a week straight, trying to make sure that you go into the exam and inshallah do the best that you can. Reviewing, studying, summarizing, meeting with the other students, so on and so forth. And like I said, good students that were good, they got even better. Bad students, like myself, they got at least good and try to crash before you can take the exam. Taking exams is a major part of the College of Hadith, major part of Jamia Islamiyah, and it's a bit different than the exams in the West. A lot of it is based off of what you memorize. And alhamdulillah, I was fortunate enough to have very, very, very good teachers from day one. And I was also fortunate enough to have many strict teachers. And one of them was a doctor named Sheikh Saud al-Jarboui, hafidhullah. He taught me fiqh al-hadith, muharrar, alhamdulillah, 4 times. And that's rare that you have one teacher to teach you the same subject 4 different semesters. And it wasn't concurrent. It was a semester here, then another teacher. So I got a chance to come back, go, come back. And to me, this teacher, I don't think he was the hardest teacher or the most strict teacher, but he was definitely number 2 or number 3, easily in the top 3. You can ask other students, anybody who's been according to hadith, okay, before me, my time, similar time, you ask them, they'll remember, they'll know his name. They may tremble when you mention his name. He was known to be very, very, very cruel when it came to the exams. And, some students, I saw them walk out the room and make dua against them, literally. Make dua against them. Some students, they will leave the room, their hand will be like this, like, because they wrote so much, their hand will be like numb, okay? And he would, ask you, write it down, explain, what's the proof, what's the dalil, who narrated, what do the Shafi'i say, what the Hanif, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So you got to know all of that stuff in your head. So you complain in the beginning, but as time goes on, you begin to appreciate it, and you see what he turned the students into. And if you ask me, Allah Alam, I think that this sheikh, one of the reasons why he was so harsh and he was so severe, so strict, is that he was jealous and he was upset at what the Islamic University had become and what this College of Hadith had become. He was like stuck in the past, the old school hardcore students. And he was upset that the grade of the students had become so low and became so poor. And I'm sure in his time, when he was early on teaching, let alone when he was a student, when somebody graduated from the College of Hadith, they were a scholar. They were a sheikh, alim, and they had the greatest respect. And the College of Hadith was the most difficult college in the Islamic University of Medina. And the reputation preceded it for miles. So when he saw certain students come that were weak, that could barely speak Arabic, that had 1 foot in the deen, 1 foot in the dunya, that could barely memorize anything, that didn't read Sahih Bukhari 10 times, 15 times, students had poor study habits, I'm sure he became upset. And he wanted to restore the old reputation of the College of Hadith. So this sheikh, I benefited from him tremendously. And I would say he probably had the biggest influence on me of all of the teachers in the school. I think he had the biggest influence on me on all of the teachers in the school. How he taught, how he interacted, how much he memorized, and just how much he made you work for your grade. No one got an A easily or simply. All right. If you got a B in his class, you were happy. Okay. And there were other teachers as well, whose names we won't mention. Some of them said, or one of them, he said, Ana sirat kulliyat hadith. He says, I'm the sirat, the bridge over the hellfire to Jannah in College of Hadith. He said, nobody passes me to the next year unless they go through me. And the good students, the really good students, my classmates, if they got a C or B, if they got a B in his class, they were happy. That was like alhamdulillah, and many students failed that had good grades, but he would give them an F if it wasn't how he wanted it to be. Some students, they complained, go to the principal, the president, and it was of no benefit. All right. And this sheikh, He was hardcore, all right. And Yani, I had one student. He was from Uganda. He's originally from Somalia. He messed up his grades. He was about to graduate. He had like straight A's. He got him, took down his GPA. Was about to cry. What can you do? But I'm sure that now that classmate probably appreciates some of that honor, yani, training, yani, and the teacher actually taking the time, taking the effort to actually produce tulab al-ilm, actually produce mashayikh, people that actually have the real passion and thirst and taste for hadith and for its sciences. So that's brief. Obviously, there are other times, other countries that I went to, other things. That's more than enough for now. If you get a chance, inshallah ta'ala, my advice would to go meet some of the other tulab al-ilm, some of the other brothers who graduated from hadith, the real students of knowledge, brothers that were really studying besides me, and ask them how they studied and what were their habits, what was their schedule, what foods did they eat, what drinks did they drink, so on and so forth. Wallahu ta'ala alam.